from Kupwara to Baramulla to the Baisaran Valley and beyond, you will have noticed that we've been focusing not just on the security aspects, not just on the investigation, but the mood in Jammu and Kashmir. Today, I return from line of control Uri, just 2 kilometers from the fence itself, in the shadow of the famous Haji Pir, where I report on something that appears to have fallen off the table and people are not thinking about. The thousands upon thousands of citizens who live just next to the line of control, who have lost family members in past escalations and now live in a shroud of fear if things get worse between India and Pakistan. This is my ground report from line of control, Uri sector. Hello and welcome to this very special ground report from line of control in Uri sector. The line of control is less than 2 kilometers behind me, beyond which is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It's been 10 days since the Pahalgam terror attack. I've been bringing you ground reports on a daily basis from across Jammu and Kashmir, focused largely on the security aspect, on the hunt for the terrorists responsible for what happened in Pahalgam to those innocent tourists. But it's easy to forget in the middle of all this that thousands of Indians live right here on the front lines, very much in the line of fire. And that's why I've come here to this frontier village, right next to the line of control behind me, to tell you what it's like to live entirely within range. This is one of the 3 bunkers that's been built under this village in Tilawadi on LoC Uri sector. It's tiny because it's been built to hold about 15 people. The family that owns this house above it built this, and it's still, as you can see, very much under construction. They haven't finished it just yet, but now they tell me, and they didn't want to come on camera for understandable reasons. They say that they're trying to speed up the finishing of this particular bunker. They will have to keep some supplies and food and water and things inside, because this particular village has been impacted by shelling in the past, when line of control tensions of the kind that are happening right now between India and Pakistan escalated into heavier weaponry. Now, since the line of control is only about less than 2 kilometers from where we're standing in this village, small arms fire, medium machine guns, things like that, those rounds can't travel 2 kilometers into a village like this. But if the escalation moves into heavier weapons like mortars, like artillery certainly, like other kinds of heavy weapons, then this village completely falls into range, and they've seen it before. The reason why bunkers like this have been built is not an overreaction. Shells have landed in this particular village and taken lives in the past, they tell me, and that's the reason why this particular family has built their own bunker for about 10 to 15 people, which is the entire family. The government has also built 2 larger community bunkers elsewhere in this village. Shamim Ahmed Mir is a senior person who lives in this village, and we've with some difficulty convinced him to actually speak to NDTV. Shamim bhai, इस गांव में पहले गोलीबारी हुई है, यहाँ पे शेल्स पहुँचे हैं, कितना नुकसान हुआ है पहले?
सर देखो, यहाँ पहले जब सीज फायर नहीं था तब शेल्स चलते थे, तोपें भी चलती थी, मोटरें भी चलती थी और गोलियां भी चलती थी। यहाँ कुछ लोग ज़ख्मी भी हुए हैं, लेकिन किसी चीज़ का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं हुआ। जो भी आता है वो सुना कर जाता है, लेकिन किसी ने कोई मुफाद अभी तक नहीं दिया है। अभी आते हैं, सुनकर चले जाते हैं, लेकिन किसी को कोई फ़ायदा पहुँचा नहीं है। इसलिए सर हम क्या और
तो ये जो बंकर है, ये इसलिए बना है क्योंकि जैसे आपने बताया कि सीज़ फायर वायलेशंस जब होते हैं तो शायद गोलीबारी हो सकती है, नुकसान हो सकती है, और पहले भी हुआ है। मेरा ये सवाल है कि ये जो बंकर है बहुत छोटा है, ये शायद एक ही परिवार के लिए होगा,
एक ही परिवार।
तो क्या यहाँ पे क्या इंतजाम होंगे? पानी खाने के लिए कुछ चीजें?
कुछ नहीं सर,
लेकिन कुछ भी नहीं है इस बंकर में, तो कितने दिन के लिए गुजर सकते हैं इसमें?
इसमें ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा एक रात या एक दिन निकाल सकते हैं। अगर बारिश हुई है तो इसमें एक मिनट भी नहीं बैठ सकते हैं, क्योंकि नीचे से ज़मीन से बारिश आ रही है, पानी निकलता है। तो अगर धूप होती है तो तब एक दिन या एक रात निकाल सकते हैं, बाकी ज़्यादा इसमें नहीं है, कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है। ना बाथरूम है, न खाने पीने का कोई किचन है, सामान नहीं है, न इसमें ला सकते हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ ख़राब हो जाता है, इसलिए नहीं ला सकते हैं सर।
So this is one of the smaller bunkers. This is, like I said, a private bunker, and what Shamim has just pointed out is that there are no facilities. There is also a sense of discontent, and you can hear that in his voice about the fact that the administration hasn't given them enough protection, despite people actually being injured in the past during firing and shelling in this particular village. But there are two government bunkers we hear also in this village, and we're going to try and see if they're any better. The villagers don't say that they're any better. They say they're still the same. There are no facilities at all. But let's go and check them out right now. So we showed you the private family bunker that's been built in this village less than 2 kilometers from the line of control in Uri sector. And now this is one of two government-built bunkers, not very old, that's been built here. For some odd reason, it's been locked and the keys have been taken away by the local authorities, probably because of some misinformation that was apparently doing the rounds around here. We on NDTV, of course, don't do that. Now, we're told that these government bunkers are not much better than the private bunker that we just showed you, not much else inside, but as you can see, there at least is a water, a syntax tank kind of thing. So there is water supply on the inside, but barely anything else. It looks to be slightly more reinforced. I can see TMT bars going through it, and therefore it might be slightly better equipped to withstand, shelling or firing if things actually escalate on the line of control. But overall, for a village of 500 people, 3 bunkers, this one with a capacity for maybe a little more than 20 to 30 people, is the only thing that they can actually depend on. Because from here till Uri town, it's a long trek, it's a long walk, it's difficult to get away. And with only 2 kilometers or less than 2 kilometers to the line of control and POK right behind Pakistan Army post, not very far from where we're bringing you this village, the people here, the citizens who live here and have no choice to leave, are literally in range and literally in the line of fire. When we talk of ceasefire violations by the Pakistan Army, and they've been happening non-stop for the last 9 days, the question that most people focus on is, how is the Indian Army reacting? The other question, of course, that we're here less than 2 kilometers from the line of control in Uri sector to report is how the others actually react. The people on the ground, the people who don't have a choice to leave from here. Here in this particular village, as you can see, that hill over there is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. That's where the frontier actually begins. The line of control runs just under it. It's the area where the last Indian Army post is on the line of control here in this particular sector. We, of course, will not be revealing any further details. But for those who may not know, the eminence you see behind me is also Haji Pir. Haji Pir has a history of its own. It was captured by the Indian Army in one of the bravest surgical strikes, if you will, of the 1965 war, and then in an incredible faux pas given back to Pakistan for various political reasons. Well, history has endured, and that's one of the reasons why over the next few decades, following the 65 war and following the giving back of Haji Pir, villages like this one, sitting bang on the line of control, have suffered the folly of unfinished business. Shells have landed here, like you've heard the villagers say. Mortars have landed here. People have been maimed. People have lost their lives. And the scars of that unresolved situation between India and Pakistan, with Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, continues to be a scar in places like this. One voice in a village of 500 people. We tried to convince the others to speak, but they're worn down by fear, worn down by anxiety, and worn out by the constant tension of what could happen on the line of control just in front of them. What happens to village Tilawadi here in the Uri sector of the line of control and hundreds of other such villages hangs in the balance. As the war clouds intensify between India and Pakistan, as we continue to pursue justice for the victims of the Pahalgam terror attack, let's also never forget the citizens that live here on the front lines. At line of control Uri sector with Ashwini Mehra, Shiv Aroor, NDTV. So we've come down from the line of control sector to Uri town itself, where I've had the pleasure of bumping into a celebrity from Uri town. They call her Uri ki beti. This is Mehak Khurshid, and she's been kind enough to speak to me at a time when very few people want to actually open up. So Mehak, आपका स्वागत है. हमसे बात करने के लिए शुक्रिया. I wish कि ये बेटर टाइम्स थे कश्मीर के लिए, लेकिन आपको पता भी है कि इतना सारा जो मीडिया है अभी कश्मीर में किस लिए आया है, पहलगाम में जो हुआ है इसलिए, जो आफ्टर मैथ है उसको कवर करने के लिए. तो पहला मेरा सवाल ये है कि 10 दिन हुए हैं पहलगाम में जो हुआ है, उसको लेकर आपका क्या ओपिनियन है? क्योंकि कश्मीर ने बहुत कुछ देखा है, टेरर भी देखा है. पहलगाम एक नया चैप्टर है, एक लेटेस्ट चैप्टर ऑफ दैट टेरर है.
जी हाँ, ये तो हमारे लिए बहुत दुखद की बात है, क्योंकि हमारी ही सरज़मीन पे ये हादसा हुआ है. 28 लोग जिनको कुछ पता भी नहीं था, घूमने के लिए आए थे, कश्मीर देखने आए थे. जैसे आप सबको पता है कि क्रेज़ होता है कश्मीर को देखने के लिए. घर से निकल कर आए थे कि हमें कश्मीर देखना है. उनको क्या पता था कि वो लौट कर नहीं आएंगे वापस. तो ये बहुत हम लोगों के लिए भी शर्मिंदा की बात है कि ये चीज़ हमारे यहाँ पे आई, और कश्मीर अब चेंज हो रहा था. कश्मीर में वो चीज़ें हो रही थी, टूरिज़्म बढ़ता जा रहा था, लोग निकल कर आ रहे थे. इतना टैलेंट है हमारे कश्मीर में, वो चीज़ें बाहर निकल के आ रही थी. उड़ी अटैक के बाद मुझे लगता है जो इससे पहले जो दूसरा अटैक भी हुआ था, उसके बाद इस अटैक ने हम सबको एक ऐसा झटका दे दिया है कि बोलते हैं ना कि रोना आ रहा है लेकिन वो आंसू निकल कर नहीं आ रहे हैं. इतना वो सदमा लग चुका है हमें.
जो टेंशन अभी लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर जारी है, और आपने उरी अटैक के बारे में भी जिक्र किया, वो 9 साल पहले था. लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर तनाव फिर से बढ़ गया है. अब टेरर अटैक के बाद सीज़ फायर वायलेशंस हो रही हैं. जहां हम खड़े हैं, आपकी शहर, आपकी टाउन उरी, बिलवेड उरी, फेमस उरी, जो मतलब वो जो इंडियन माइंडसेट में चला गया पॉपुलर कल्चर में, क्योंकि 2016 में क्या हुआ था तो सबको पता है कि उरी क्या है. एक फिल्म भी बनी थी उस पर. तो मेरा दूसरा सवाल ये है महक कि उरी के मन में अभी क्या है? क्या वो एक देजावू टाइप का सिचुएशन है कि फिर से तनाव लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर? ये सिचुएशन का हल कभी नहीं होता है.
जी हाँ, क्यों नहीं होगा. आप देखिए, हर चीज़ अब हो रही थी. हमारा उड़ी डेवलपमेंट में आगे जा रहा था. कमांड पोस्ट बहुत आगे जा रहा था. कमांड पोस्ट एक ऐसा बॉर्डर है जहाँ पे जी. तो हमारे यहाँ की जो इंडियन आर्मी है, जिनने ये दरवाज़ा खोला था, टूरिज़्म के लिए खोला था, कि कोशिश थी कि उड़ी भी मैप में आ जाए, टूरिज़्म बढ़ता जाए. लेकिन इस अटैक ने उड़ी को भी, मतलब कहते हैं ना, वो उस इमोशनल चीज़ों में बह दिया, क्योंकि यहाँ पे भी अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा है. तो टूरिज़्म जैसे बढ़ता था, तो यहाँ पे भी कोशिश हो रही थी इंडियन आर्मी की तरफ से कि यहाँ की जगह को एक्सप्लोर किया जाए. जैसे कमांड पोस्ट है, कितना फेमस माना जा रहा है. अभी लास्ट ईयर भी इतने टूरिस्ट आए थे बिकॉज ऑफ कि इंडियन आर्मी है यहाँ पे, वो सारी चीज़ें कर रही है. लेकिन इसके बाद इतना, मतलब टूरिज़्म जैसे पहलगाम के बाद लगता है कि अब टूरिस्ट जो हैं वो आएंगे कि नहीं आएंगे, उनके दिल में ये चीज़ें होंगी. लेकिन मैं यही बोलूँगी कि पीस है ये जगह, बहुत है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. हमारे जवान बॉर्डर पे खड़े हैं हम लोगों के लिए, हमारे लिए, हमारी रक्षा के लिए वो खड़े हैं. तो इंडियन आर्मी हमेशा, हम रात को आराम की नींद करते हैं और बॉर्डर पे वो रात भर जागते हैं. तो मैं इतना ही बोलूँगी कि हमारी आर्मी हमें कुछ नहीं होने देगी.
जो लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पे सीज़ फायर वायलेशंस लगातार हो रहे हैं, उरी सेक्टर उरी के अराउंड सिटी के टाउन के अराउंड भी बहुत ऐसे गांव हैं। आप एक सोशल एक्टिविस्ट हैं। मैंने सुना कि आपने बहुत लोगों का अपलिफ्टमेंट किया है, स्पेशली वुमेन folk को, जो एक बहुत ही अहम चीज़ है, बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, स्पेशली इन द कश्मीरी हिंटरलैंड। तो मेरा तीसरा सवाल ये है कि जब लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर सीज़ फायर वायलेशंस है, क्या माइंडसेट बदल गया है उरी में? क्या आर्मी को लेकर और जनरली पॉलिटिकली अवेयर जो लोग हैं, क्या माइंडसेट बदल गया है एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 के बाद?
देखिए, मैं इतना ही बोलूँगी कि इस अटैक के बाद सिर्फ एक टूरिज़्म पे इफ़ेक्ट नहीं हुआ है। एज ए सोशल एक्टिविस्ट हम लोगों के लिए भी बहुत इफ़ेक्ट हुई हैं ये चीज़ें, बिकॉज़ हम लड़कियों को बूस्ट करते थे, मोटिवेट करते थे, अपने टैलेंट को बाहर निकालो। जब से ये चीज़ हुई है तो थोड़ा सा हम पे भी ये चीज़ इफ़ेक्ट हुई है। और उड़ी के बारे में बात करूँ तो उड़ी माना जाता है अपने नेचर के लिए, इंसानियत के लिए, और ख़ास कर अपने देश के लिए वो बहुत कुछ करता है। आप देखो यहाँ पे कुछ भी होता है, कोई भी इवेंट्स होते हैं, कुछ भी होता है तो आर्मी और यहाँ के जो लोकल हैं वो एक साथ खड़े रहते हैं। और जब भी कोई इवेंट होता है तो इंडियन आर्मी पहले यहाँ के लोकलों को खड़ा करती है।
जवान और अवाम।
हाँ, जवान और अवान। और ये चीज़ हमारे यहाँ पे बहुत मानी जाती है। और कभी ऐसा लगा नहीं कि जो हमारी आर्मी है और हम अलग हैं, हमेशा एक फैमिली की तरह हमारा वो रिश्ता रहा है।
और हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत धन्यवाद महक। वी विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट, क्योंकि आप एक मुश्किल काम करते हैं एक मुश्किल जगह में, लेकिन आप उरी की बेटी हो तो you will always be beloved. So we wish you the very best and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. There are many mixed views that one hears here in Uri, but when someone like Mehak, young woman who's going out on a limb, who wants upliftment not just for herself and her family but for those around her, there will always be hope, even in the midst of strife, even in the midst of anxiety, and even as war clouds, familiar war clouds, darken once again between India and Pakistan. In Uri town of Jammu and Kashmir with Ashwini Mehra, Shiv Aroor for NDTV. And as we continue to seek justice for the victims of Pakistani terror in Pahalgam, we will always reflect the voices of Kashmiris who want genuinely a better Kashmir. On the other side of this break, I have with me Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, because here on NDTV we are very insistent on getting you the views of people who've had skin in the game, who've put their lives on the line serving in these areas to try and make a better Kashmir. General Dhillon has been the 15 Corps commander. He knows more than a thing or two about what we're talking about. He's with me live right after this.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
That's huge. That is a biggie. It's out of it.
गोल्ड ग्लास क्लियर ग्लास, पार हो या नियर, सब कुछ दिखे क्लियर।
From Washington to Istanbul, global isolation and diplomatic trees, we expose how the world has turned its back on pariah Pakistan. A new virus is sweeping across all 50 US states, and human-to-human transmission fears are growing. We unpack the urgency, and local elections send shockwaves across UK. We decode the verdict's effect on Keir Starmer's grip on power.
All this and more only on India Sense with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
Welcome back to India Matters, live from Srinagar as part of our continuing coverage in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack. Very privileged to be joined this evening by Lieutenant General Kanwaljit Singh Dhillon, better known as General Tiny Dhillon. He's a former Deputy Chief. He's been Director General of the Defence Intelligence Agency. Very notably has been Corps Commander of the Srinagar Corps, where I'm bringing this broadcast to you from. He's also a national best-selling author. General Dhillon, always a pleasure to have you. Thanks for being with us. My first question to you, sir, is 10 days after the Pahalgam attack, and I'll come to the LC in just a bit, but I want to ask you, 10 days after this attack, the terrorists who perpetrated that massacre in Pahalgam are still at large. How do you read that situation? Why is it so difficult to find them, sir?
Good evening, Shiv, and good evening to your viewers. Yes, it's been 10 days, and as you can, the viewers can recollect, after Pulwama, we had got them within 100 hours. But why Pulwama and Pahalgam are two different set of situations? Pulwama happened in a valley floor and with a lot of built-up. So terrorists, we did not allow them to get into a hideout. And that's how when they were moving or when they're speaking, we got the intelligence and we got them. Now here, the selection of the objective was such that terrorists, after committing this crime, the heinous crime, they walked into the jungle, as we can see on your screen now, they walked into the jungle where the security forces would take minimum 1 to 1.5 hours to reach the spot, because after the incident, the security forces would get ready, move into a vehicle, get to the debussing point, walk up 30 to 40 minutes, come to the place of incident, get the information and what actually happened, and thereafterwards the hot pursuit starts. And once inside the jungle, like in the Baisaran Valley per se also, the mobile connectivity is very poor. That's why the information coming down took a lot of time. So once inside the jungle, the terrorists had a good about 1 to 1.5 hours lead from the security forces, and they had about 3 hours to get into a hideout before the last light. And Baisaran Valley, if I can explain for the benefit of the viewers, or Pahalgam Baud per se, is surrounded by the pine forest as you see it on your TV screen, all around it. There are small little open patches like Baisaran Valley, Adu Valley, Betau Valley, which are the tourist attractions. Otherwise, this whole area is surrounded all around by a thick pine forest. And when I say pine forest, it has primary jungle, it has secondary jungle, and it has tertiary jungle. That means the undergrowth on ground is 5 to 6 feet high. I have walked in these jungles. If you miss the person walking in front of you by more than 2 meters, you will miss him. The line of sight does not allow more than 2 to 3 meters at places. And there are places in these jungles where sunlight has not touched the ground in history. That means the tree canopy is so thick. So we are talking about a very difficult terrain, and this, as it keeps going higher, we are moving into the high altitude areas. So it is very difficult terrain, and to get these terrorists in this area. And one important point which the viewers must understand, this area has been free of terrorist actions for quite some time. Al-Fran happened in the beginning of the terrorism in Kashmir. from in Adu Valley. And then afterwards, because of the tourist season and because of the yatra, very few terrorist incidents have happened here. And as a result, security forces' presence inside these jungles has been more or less negligible. As also the information network or the intelligence network, since there are no terrorists, there are no intelligence flowing, so there are no sources who are activated. So all these things combined together are taking the time which it is taking.
General, my second question to you, the investigation is continuing. We know many overground workers have been detained for questioning, etc. Obviously, the second question that I will come to you about is what's happening on the line of control. Yesterday, I was at the LC in Kupwara sector. Today, I've just returned from the line of control in the Uri sector. And it is very clear, and we don't obviously reveal any operational details of our side, but the Pakistani side is rattled. They are mobilizing. They don't know where the next move is actually coming from. The ceasefire violations are obviously escalating day on day. Where do you see that going, sir? Not talking about India's next move, but what's happening at the LC, where do you see that going? Is it going to escalate into heavier weapons and more damage?
Shiv, in your report which you were showing prior to our conversation on the line of control in the Uri sector, I could actually identify a few places without naming them, because one has been working on this for I don't know how many years. Having said that, see this small arms fire ceasefire violation which is happening, in Kupwara sector, in Uri sector, and in Punch sector, and Rajouri sector down below. These are the indications of Pakistan Army being under, you can say, very cautious and rattled, the word which you used. The heavy weapons have not opened up as yet, but this ceasefire violation is to self-motivation, to give themselves the feeling of moral ascendancy on the line of control. And other ceasefire violation of small arms which happens is there are certain posts in Pakistan and the certain units on the line of control towards POK side who fear that they are going to be attacked tonight. So it is in panic and a prophylactic fire. They will fire every 2-3 hours, 1 magazine, 2 magazines, just to make sure even if Indians are coming onto their post, something will hit anyone randomly. So it's a fear factor, panic factor, and they're totally rattled. That's why the small arms fire on the line of control used to be a very routine thing prior to ceasefire agreement. And after that, it used to happen to give covering fire to the infiltrating terrorists from the POK side. But what is happening after Pahalgam is a sheer panic in the line and rank and file of Pakistan Army, just because they're too scared to stay in those posts, thinking something like surgical strikes may happen again.
It's very interesting to see all of these developments, General Dhillon. I did have a few more questions, but my apologies, we're out of time. But I promise you we'll be getting you back on the show because our coverage is going to continue non-stop. This is India's biggest story. So I thank you for sharing that crucial wisdom with us. General Dhillon is widely followed on social media. You can see his views there as well. And we will continue to ask the questions, visit the places where this big national story is unfolding right here on India Matters. General Dhillon, thank you very much for being with me. Well, that's a wrap on tonight's edition of India Matters, once again from Kashmir. And we will, like I said, continue to put the spotlight on this unfolding story. No operational details. We stand with our forces every time, no compromise and no exceptions. It's now over to my colleague Vishnu Shom taking you through another track on this big story, the mobilization of Pakistani forces, comparison of weapons and where this face-off is really headed. Vishnu.
Well, thank you, Shiv, and don't go anywhere. Good evening and welcome to all our viewers. You're watching a very special program, India-Pakistan, the balance of power. I'll be joined by two of India's best, Shiv Aroor, who you saw just there, and Sandeep Unnithan, friends and colleagues who for years have worked closely with me on national security issues. On this show, we break down the cutting-edge capabilities of Indian and Pakistani weapon systems. As tensions loom, we'll dive into the tech behind these high-stakes arsenals, analyzing their strengths and weaknesses from advanced weaponry to strategic technology to try and give you a full picture of what a potential conflict could look like from a technology standpoint. This is important and it's not often discussed. But first, what I'd like to do is give you a couple of key details on where the balance of power, as it were, lies between India and Pakistan. So I'm going to go quickly across various points over here and then get into various weapon systems, get comments from our experts. Now, that's the military strength. India at 15,55,000, Pakistan approximately less than half of that. These are your regular soldiers. There are also reservists as well. So the reserve troop numbers are what you have on your screen. So India is much larger as a military force, but remember, a large number of soldiers are deployed across the frontier. It's not just Kashmir, it's also the entire Himalayan frontier. The entire boundary with China is much more active in a sense, but much more in need of being protected than it once was. If we take a look at aircraft, and this includes all categories, India at 2,200 aircraft, Pakistan at 1,400 aircraft approximately, but of that, fighter aircraft, which become extremely important in the context of potential military strikes. So let's have that next image, please. The next image is of fighter aircraft. This is important because you see an Indian Rafale over here, and you see Pakistan's cutting edge, the J-10. I'll talk about those in a moment. India, substantially more number of fighter aircraft than Pakistan, but do remember both air forces operate old aircraft as well. Pakistan still operates old Mirage 5 aircraft. India still operates MiG-21s. Now, these are the fighters that we need to look at a little bit more closely. The Rafale, Mirage 2000, those are the sword arm of the Indian Air Force, and they have been for a long time, along with the Sukhoi 30. Pakistan has the J-10 and the JF-17. These are Chinese aircraft. The J-10 is very, very advanced. And also the F-16, which over a period of time has been upgraded and represents a continued and persistent threat, particularly because of the missile that it has, the AMRAAM in air-to-air combat. That's very important. We'll be talking about air-to-air missiles a lot in a moment from now. But let's take a look at some of the other platforms. Transports, and you can't be talking about potential military conflict or anything of that sort if you don't look at transports. This is the lifeline for India's armed forces, the C-17, the world's most advanced strategic airlifter. The Pakistan Air Force has got C-130 Hercules, so do we, albeit in a different role. Helicopters, again, the lifeline, particularly in areas such as the Himalayas, where access with large aircraft is often impossible. Helicopters play a critical role. In fact, India operates the Mi-17. Pakistan operates variants of that, the old Mi-8 as well, Mi-17. So, again, India overwhelmingly larger in terms of helicopters. These are very much a lifeline. Don't ever forget that war fighting is not just about fighters and guns. It's also about basic transports. Without that, soldiers can't be deployed. Weaponry cannot be sent from place to place. There is so much more that all of these do. But if you're talking about the fighting edge and helicopters, then you've got the Apache, which India operates. We've got a few squadrons of them among the 80 attack helicopters. We've got the Rudra as well. We've got the Prachand light combat helicopter. Pakistan operates the Huey Cobra. That's a legacy American system, along with newer Chinese variants over there. But if we move along now, take a look at tanks, and we'll bring you more details on that in a while. India at 4,201 tanks, Pakistan at 2,627. They've got fairly advanced tanks as well, variants of the VT-4, which is a Chinese tank. India relies heavily on the T-90 that you see on your screen. The big guns, the howitzers, India has been upgrading finally after decades. Our howitzer formations, those are all deployed now. One would assume in parts of Kashmir, in the event that they are required, if the ceasefire violations and the firing along the line of control in the international border flare up. Pakistan operates several Chinese types, among others. Let's now take a look at the naval balance, and this is where Pakistan is not in the same league as the Indian Navy. The Indian Navy is substantially larger, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of technology as well. Let me spell that out for you. Let's start with, for example, aircraft carriers. India's got 2 aircraft carriers, the new Vikram, made in India, the Vikram Aditya, which was made in Russia. Most navies in the world don't have aircraft carriers. Pakistan certainly doesn't. If we take a look at submarines, India operates approximately 18 submarines. This is an Agosta 70, which Pakistan operates, an older submarine. This is also a French-designed submarine. It's the Scorpion, which the Indian Navy operates a generation ahead. In terms of destroyers, Pakistan no longer really operates destroyers in a war-fighting sense. India has world-class destroyers. This is the Vishakhapatnam class that you see on your screen. Absolutely world-class, no two ways about that. And in terms of frigates as well, Pakistan is getting a handful of new-build frigates. For example, the PNS Tugril, which is a Type 54 Chinese-made frigate. India operates. This is a Kriva class, but we've got several new types of frigates which are in service. So, again, quantitatively ahead of the Pakistanis. Let's take a look at nuclear weapons, and we hope we don't ever get to, apart from this academic exercise, start talking about nuclear weapons seriously. But this is what the status of World Nuclear Forces estimates: 180 warheads for India, 170 for Pakistan. Now, these would often be fired, some of these at least. Let's move to the next page, through our ballistic missile submarines. India's got 3. We've got a couple more building. Pakistan doesn't have any. This is the naval arm of our nuclear triad. So that is absolutely critical. That's the rough balance. Let me bring Shiv and Sandeep Unnithan into this conversation right now. Shiv, let me come to you first. We were talking about the big guns. You've been in areas where presumably the big guns have been deployed. Is that a real concern now that, the cross-border firing that we've been seeing has been limited? It's been small arms fire. India's been retaliating with small arms fire. It goes up an escalation matrix. There are rockets, there are mortars, and then, of course, artillery. But that's where we may be headed. No one knows.
Very true, Vishnu. I was in the Kupwara sector of the line of control yesterday, in the Uri sector today. In Kupwara yesterday, we did learn that the Pakistan Army has rolled its recently delivered SH-15 155 millimeter self-propelled guns supplied by China to places very close to the line of control. They haven't been able to get them as close as they would like because they have a pretty steep roadhead in those areas, and the self-propelled howitzers are not powerful enough to bring the guns in. But those guns have range and they do pack a punch, even though ultimately they're Chinese. So, I'll leave that aside. But the very fact that they've rolled them in obviously suggests that they, the escalation matrix involves the possibility of moving beyond small arms. Apart from the SH-15s, Vishnu, very interestingly, medium guns have also been moved in some numbers to some of those forward posts. And this is all Indian Army intelligence, which we've been cleared to talk about. It's because it's operational details of what's happening on the other side, and indicative, Vishnu, of how rattled Pakistan currently is in the face of a huge amount of strategic ambiguity of what's happening on the Indian side. So an escalation into heavier weapons, definitely possible, definitely possibly on the horizon.
I just want to repeat for our viewers one key point which Shiv just mentioned, where he said that, this is stuff we've been cleared to talk about. All of us have been doing this for close to 30 years. Shiv's still considerably younger than the rest of us, Sandeep and me. But that being said, and we pull his leg for that, and we always will. But that being said, we know what we are talking about. We are not going to cross a line which we won't get to. Sandeep, let me bring you to air-to-air missiles. And this is important because the day after the 2019 Balakot strikes, which India did, there was an air battle, a very intense air battle between India and Pakistan. Pakistan was armed with the AMRAAM missile. India didn't quite have the ability to match that, certainly because we weren't deployed where we wanted to with our Mirage 2000 fighters, and because perhaps technology-wise we needed something better, which we now do have. So let's bring up that first graphic where we're looking at the Meteor air-to-air missile. So if we talk about the Meteor air-to-air missile, if we can just bring up that graphic, then we can sort of share a couple of details about that as we wait for that to come up. Well, here we are. All right, let's bring in that balance. No, not this. We're waiting for the Meteor graphic. That will come up in a moment. But Sandeep, let me ask you this question. Ultra-long-range air-to-air missiles, how are they absolutely crucial?
Well, Shiv, firstly, thank you for having me on your show. This was one capability that, took us by surprise. The fact that Pakistan had acquired AMRAAM missiles nearly 20 years ago. It was talking to the United States in 2005. It acquired the AMRAAMs a few years later. We were all joking about the utility of AMRAAMs for fighting terrorists, because that is what Pakistan said they needed the AMRAAMs and the F-16s for. It was for counterinsurgency missions and all of that. But very clearly, They had been using this global war on terror, convincing the United States that they needed these AMRAAM missiles to fight the Taliban, which had no air force to speak of, but they were very quietly building up their defenses against India, and that was one crucial, capability that they've built up in the last 2 decades, which kind of took us by surprise. Because when, Vishnu, you remember, you covered the Kargil war. You remember when our aircraft went up, the Sukhoi 30s went up over Kargil. They started locking on to PAF, fighter aircraft. The Pakistani Air Force realized they had nothing to counter those long-range radars and aircraft, which is why they went about very quietly building up their, long-range missile arsenal, and that's where the AMRAAM missile comes
back in Kargil, right? Our MiG-29s and Mirages had locked on at that stage. I'm not too sure we had too many of those Sukhois at that stage.
Yes, and this is the capability that the Pakistanis then built up quickly, and we saw what happened in 2019, and that is possibly one reason why the IAF quickly, stepped up its acquisition of the Rafale and the Meteor. And
okay, Sandy, hold that thought for a second. I've got that graphic up with us. I want to talk through some of the technology since that's our focus. This is the Meteor missile. This is a photograph of a Rafale firing the Meteor missile. It's got a range of more than 200 kilometers. Pakistan fires an extremely capable missile now on the JF-10s and JF-17s, like you see here. That's called the PL-15 missile. It has a range of up to 300 kilometers. But there are some important things that we need to look at in terms of the technology of both missiles. The Meteor has what is called a larger no-escape zone. That extends to approximately 60 kilometers. That means if the missile gets within 60 kilometers of its target, the chances of that target actually escaping are fairly non-existent. The PL-15, which Pakistan operates, is not believed to have that same no-escape zone, as it were. The Rafale firing the Meteor missile would fly at a speed of Mach 3.5. The PL-15 could touch Mach 5, but it will not sustain that speed right till it hits its target. So it loses a great deal of velocity in its terminal phase, whereas this retains Mach 3.5 throughout. So Sandeep, let me come to you on this. In terms of technology, these are, in a sense, different ways of approaching that technology, very capable both systems. Do you believe the Meteor has the edge?
Absolutely, Vishnu. There's no doubt that the Meteor is one of the deadliest air-to-air missiles anywhere in the world, possibly outclassed only by, in the league of the AMRAAM, if not even better than that. And the Chinese missile that you're mentioning, this PL-15, it's an untested commodity, Vishnu. We've not seen it in action. There's been a lot of talk around it, like a lot of Chinese systems, new systems, which are largely untested. So I'm sure the Chinese would be looking at their deliveries of the PL-15 to the Pakistanis with a lot of care, and because this would actually determine the exports of the PL-15. And that's another aspect of this India-Pakistan standoff, Vishnu. We are looking at a lot of, we operate French and Russian systems. Pakistan has gone over to almost entirely a Chinese origin arsenal. Almost all of their new technology, like the PL-15s and the fighter 4.5 generation fighter aircraft, they're all of Chinese origins, including the battle tanks that we're seeing right now. So this is going to be a very interesting standoff to look out for, Vishnu. And certainly, you're looking at very, very capable Western origin and Western and Russian origin platforms and missiles up against Pakistan's Chinese origin arsenal.
Let's talk a little bit about tanks at this stage. I'd like to bring Shiv in on this. The newest and possibly the most capable tank that the Pakistanis have is the Haider. That's what they call it. It's co-manufactured. It's a variant of the Chinese VT4. It's got a 125 millimeter smoothbore gun. India's mainstay is the T90. Also got a 125 millimeter smoothbore. Both of these have auto loaders. Both of these tanks are extremely capable in terms of weaponry. They fire APF SDS rounds. That is armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot, is what I believe APF SDS stands for, high explosive anti-tank rounds as well, guided missiles, both of them. So in a sense, evenly matched up in terms of specs. Protection is very important. The Chinese tank, the Pakistani tank has explosive reactive armor and composite armor. India has explosive reactive armor also put on its, on the hull of the T-90 tank. Remember, the T-90 tank is now battle-proven. It's been used extensively with mixed results in the Russia-Ukraine war, it needs to be said. It's got a 1,000 horsepower diesel engine, a range of 550 kilometers. It outranges the Chinese tank a little bit, but the Chinese tank has got a greater power-to-weight ratio, but we are upgrading that tank. Shiv, let's talk a little bit about tanks. We don't hopefully get into a situation where tanks are involved, but I think it's fair to say that there is a good chance that both sides would be looking at their defenses. If we talk about tanks, this is an area where India and Pakistan are near peers, some would suggest, right?
Very true, Vishnu. I completely agree. They've got a fairly equal capability when it comes to armored strength and main battle tanks. If you look at Pakistani social media right now, it's flooded with chest-thumping images of the Haider tank, pictures of General Asim Munir standing on top of a tank, suggestions, most likely misinformation, that the tanks are rolling towards the international border and things like that. And like you rightly said, if the tanks start rolling on either side, this particular flashpoint has already gone way past, any kind of suggestion of a limited conflict. Now, let's remind our viewers, Vishnu, that Pakistan has a terrible record when it comes to armored clashes with India. Our war history with Pakistan is littered with examples of, totally disastrous misadventures when it comes to tanks. But since we're talking about, the efficacy of weapon systems, ultimately, once again, it does come down to the untested nature of some of the systems that you just described on the Pakistani side. The T-90, the Bhishma, continues to be a major mainstay of the Indian Army. It is, of course, a Soviet origin tank, but given the legacy it's had, as far as Indian manufacture is concerned, the many improvements it's gone under, the fact that it is truly the backbone as far as Indian armor is concerned, makes this, I believe, yes, a neck and neck in terms of armored strength, but it still gives India definitely the edge.
We've also got this very interesting video, and let's stick to that video for a moment. We've got the Smirch, I beg your pardon, the Pinaka, which we just saw for a moment over there. The footage is changing, but that's also an important part of our artillery forces. I'd like to change right now, bring Sandeep in for the naval comparison. Now, Shiv, Sandeep, and I could go on non-stop for, I guess, the next 2 to 3 days looking at every single weapon system. Unfortunately, we don't have the time. But what you do see on your screen right now is one of the most formidable Indian platforms. That was the INS Nilgiri, brand new ship. But let's take a look at Pakistan's frontline Tugril class frigate, which is a variant of the Chinese Type 54, and India's Nilgiri class frigate. Brand new, just a couple of months old. It fires 8 BrahMos anti-ship cruise missiles. Variants of that missile can hit ground targets as well. It travels at Mach 2.8 to Mach 3, so exceptionally fast. In its final phase, it gets into very sharp maneuvers, 12G maneuvers, which make the possibility of intercept, some would suggest, almost impossible. It's got 32 Barak 8 surface-to-air missiles. Those fly out up to a range of close to 100-odd kilometers. It's got a 76mm gun. It's got torpedoes. The Chinese ship is capable. They fire 4 CM-302 missiles. Those are also supersonic missiles, but some would suggest not quite in the class of the BrahMos, which is a larger missile, a larger warhead, and has been far more tested. It's got 32 surface-to-air missiles as well, so it matches the number of missiles that the Nilgiri has. However, no one really knows about the capability of Chinese surface-to-air missiles. Are they reliable? We just don't know. They've not been tested in war per se. It's got a 76mm gun and torpedoes. Let's bring in a few more characteristics of this. And this is something which Sandeep would love to talk about, and he will. The primary sensor of the Nilgiri class is a radar system called the MF Star. This is the MF Star right here on top of the ship. And it is an Israeli designed system. It tracks targets by air primarily out to very significant ranges and helps provide an early warning glance of targets in the air, whether it's incoming cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, or aircraft, or anything else. It's got a secondary radar as well, an Indra radar. It's a Spanish radar. It's being made now in India as well. So it's got that excellent secondary surveillance capability as well. There are other fire control radars also involved. So this is extremely capable in terms of the equipment fit and the sensor fit. India's warships, our new build destroyers and frigates, have a sensor fit, some would argue, almost second to none. Yes, the Americans have different systems, but these are absolutely world-class, and therefore the guidance which our missiles receive, the ability to target, is superb. Let's move on now to the next point, if we have any others on this. The Nilgiri has a range of about 6,600 nautical miles. The Chinese Type 54, the Tugril, outranges the Nilgiri. That's a very impressive capability to be out at sea. It's pretty much the same speed, but India believes in having space for 2 helicopters. We could have MH-60 Romeos, which are new American-built helicopters. We've started deploying also one other smaller one. The Chinese believe in the philosophy of 1 helicopter. Sandeep, let's talk about the Nilgiri class since we're on these pictures. How is this pretty much the pinnacle of Indian shipbuilding for a ship of its class, right? Destroyer is somewhat different. For a ship of its class, how does this represent the best of what India can really do?
Well, Vishnu, it's in the name, really, the Nilgiri. The new Nilgiri is a reincarnation of the old Nilgiri, which was one of the first indigenously built frigates almost half a century ago, 50 years ago. So the new Nilgiri actually, it is the distilled essence of 5 decades of Indian shipbuilding, and all of the capabilities that you just mentioned makes it one of the most formidable ships in its class anywhere in the world. It's one of the most heavily armed frigates in the world. In fact, it qualifies for being called a destroyer because of the kind of package that it carries. It's literally second to no other frigate anywhere in the world. The BrahMos missiles itself, that formidable array of BrahMos missiles that it carries with a range of over 500 kilometers. I mean, that is a phenomenal power-packed ship that you're looking at. And this is literally a ship that can knock out anything in the water. So there is no real comparison to it. It's like, putting a super heavyweight boxer against, a medium flyweight or a light flyweight, which is what I think the Chinese frigate that you put over there represents. That's a ship that's not been tested. It's not seen combat. It's untested. It's one of those sausages that China keeps rolling out of its shipyards. But the Nilgiri is, like I mentioned, Vishnu, the fact that it is the distilled essence of so many decades of Indian shipbuilding competence in welding together all of those sensors, the Israeli MF Star surface search radar, fire control radar, the guns, the missiles, the torpedoes. It is a formidable ship, and these ships are actually built, they're designed to be at the center of carrier battle groups. They're designed to provide the carriers, the Vikrant and the Vikramaditya, with their screens. They are designed to escort these carriers while they go into battle, and that's exactly what the Nilgiri that you see on screen now does. It's a formidable ship, and it's going to be it is the forerunner of an entirely new class of frigates, Vishnu.
Shiv, last word to you. I think this conversation on the Navy is important because, as you know, Pakistan has really been testing their missiles, their guns. They've been just off the coast of Gujarat, off the coast of Karachi. I have never seen war games being done by the Pakistanis in such close proximity to Indian naval forces. We are holding our own exercises, and many of them. That, in a sense, really represents the level of tension between the two countries, right?
It represents the level of tension between the two countries, and it represents Pakistan sort of looking in all directions for where that next big Indian move is going to come from. And, the Indian Navy certainly hasn't helped Pakistan's sense of anxiety. They popped off a bunch of BrahMoses from their destroyers last week from the Arabian Sea. This week, the northern part of the Arabian Sea is on the boil, as you just referred to, because you've got firepower drills taking place, barely 80 kilometers from each other off the coast of Gujarat. You've had the Pakistanis practically spamming, a flood of, notices to mariners, notifications to airmen about, restrictions at sea, restrictions in the air, revealing many of those vulnerabilities and vital assets along Pakistan's coast. So the naval aspect, while I'm here in Srinagar visiting the line of control, the land aspect of it, of course, is front and center. Sandeep spoke very well, and you did too, about the air power aspect, but the naval aspect is something that's getting very little attention despite all of these things that we're seeing happen in the northern Arabian Sea. And I think there must be a greater deal of focus on that, because naval power being applied there is really something that Pakistan is very, very nervous about.
All right, Shiv, Sandeep, thank you for joining us and doing this program. It's important to actually look at this entire crisis from a technology standpoint. Thank you both very much for being with us, Shiv. Stay safe. Well, it's not just Indian airlines traveling west which are having to fly longer and incur more costs because of the overflight ban over Pakistan. Leading Western carriers are now voluntarily avoiding Pakistani airspace, even though they do not face such a ban. At the end of the day, Pakistan's Aerospace Authority stands to lose millions of dollars every month for overflight fees that it charges all airlines using its airspace. So let me just explain, and let's bring up these maps. Now, this is very important, and I'm going to explain. Look at the route flown over here. This is a flight from Warsaw to New Delhi. This is a flight from Germany to New Delhi. And as you can see, they're avoiding Pakistani airspace completely. And even in the case of this flight, they're avoiding Pakistani airspace. So the point over here is that for the last 2 days, Lufthansa, British Airways, Swiss Air France, ITA of Italy, and LOT of Poland are some of the leading European carriers that are voluntarily avoiding Pakistani airspace because of the tensions between India and Pakistan. That means that flights between Europe and India are on an average about 1 hour longer. In fact, a little bit more than that. Ultimately, airlines may pass on the cost of more fuel to passengers, though it's unclear when that will take place. Now, according to the Center for Asia Pacific Aviation, Indian Airlines may end up spending between $60 to $80 million in extra fuel and other costs for the longer routes that they now need to take on. That's in a month. If this goes on longer, then Indian Airlines would be incurring a large amount. That's Air India, Indigo, other Indian carriers. Significantly, Pakistan's Civil Aviation Authority will end up losing hundreds of millions annually on overflight charges on an annual basis if they don't allow airlines to fly overhead, or if carriers say that we don't want to fly over Pakistani airspace. Pakistan loses massively. In fact, Pakistan's Civil Aviation Authority, after 2019, what took place is that the Pak Authority lost at least 100 million over a period of 5 months when there was an airspace ban for airlines. There are many more aircraft now. The possibility of making more money is there for them if they choose to accept it. But Indian Airlines will also be suffering. But as I mentioned, key international operators who choose to avoid Pak airspace will not be paying Pakistan either for use of their airspace. For Pakistan, the tensions with India from an aviation standpoint are a lose-lose situation. Well, we're going to take a short break at this stage. It's time for the big fight with my colleague Maria Shakil. That's after this short break.
Hello everyone and welcome to the big fight. In a major policy decision that will have a lasting impact on the Indian politics, the Modi government this week gave its nod to the caste census as part of the next census. This will be the first caste enumeration in independent India. This had been a long-standing demand of a lot of regional parties and lately of the Congress party, with Rahul Gandhi making it the fulcrum of his political campaigns. So naturally, with the announcement of the caste census, a war has broken out for the credit of this big political decision. The opposition is claiming credit for the move, saying that it is their pressure that has worked, while the government has been saying that the opposition parties, particularly the Congress, always oppose the exercise and that it is the Modi government that is now delivering on this. While the politics and credit hunting will continue in days and months to come, one thing is for sure, that a caste count will change the political and social landscape of India like never before. Has the Modi government turned the caste table on the opposition? Can the Congress and the parties drive home the point among the voters that they have pushed Modi Sarkar into this decision? In the absence of a timeline, what next in caste count? And will the reservation now go beyond 50% pan-India? And what immediate impact will the caste census announcement have in Bihar assembly polls, which clearly will be the first political test for the Modi-led NDA? Joining me on the big fight tonight is Krishna Prasad, who is the TDP MP. We have Sujit Kumar, Member of Parliament of the BJP. Virendra Singh is Member of Parliament of the Samajwadi Party. Dr. Kalanidhi Veeraswamy is Member of Parliament of DMK, and Dr. Udit Raj is a senior Congress leader. I'm going to begin with you, Sujit Kumar. This appears to be driven by political exigency. What is the political exigency, an immediate one, if that has forced your hands into a decision of this nature?
See, first of all, I will applaud the government for this historic decision, which shows the government's commitment to social justice and for empowerment of the deprived and the marginalized. This is actually BJP's commitment to Dr. Ambedkar and his vision for the social justice and equity. You know, this is actually a manifestation of the Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas slogan of Prime Minister Modi, you know, because for BJP, for us, this is not a political tool, but rather this is a tool for ensuring that there is socio-economic justice for everyone in the country. You know, so when you say this is a political expediency, or what prompted BJP to bring this, given that there is Bihar election this year, not at all, because we have been supporting this for decades now. Look at the history. You know, in fact, the opposition party is thoroughly exposed today. The opposition party, particularly the Congress party, which has always been against tribals, against the disadvantaged, against the Dalits, and particularly against caste-based quota, today is speaking the language. It's almost like the devil preaching the scriptures. Okay. So today the opposition party has no case.
Should I remind you of history, which is now part of the parliament records? On July 20th, 2021, responding to a parliament question, Minister of State for Home Affairs, Nityanand Rai, had said that the government of India has decided it, as a matter of policy, not to enumerate caste-wise population other than SC, ST in census. This is what is part of parliamentary records.
Correct. But given that there was no census, because the decadal census was supposed to happen in 2021, because of COVID and other reasons, this has been delayed. And because now the government has decided to make it as part of the decadal census and not do it in a non-transparent manner, as is being done by some of the opposition governments in some of the states, you know, for political reason, you know, I do not know under what circumstances the Honorable Home Minister MOS has said that, but, you know, clearly the fact that the government has made this as part of the official census now indicates that this will be done in a purely transparent manner, in a purely structured manner, leaving no doubt for any ambiguity, leaving no doubt for any political motive, right? And look at the history, whether it's the Mandal Commission or the Kaka Kelkar Committee, or whether it's, you know, support for caste-based census or reservation, BJP has always been in favor of this, always. Okay. Categorically, it has said this.
Okay. But I'm not too sure how the BJP has been in favor, but I will not give the credit to the Congress either, because Dr. Udit Raj, in 2010, then Prime Minister, late Dr. Manmohan Singh, had assured the Lok Sabha that the matter of caste census would be considered in the cabinet. And a group of ministers was also formed on this subject. But what moved? You have been in power in India for decades, but caste census was never on priority of the Congress party.
See, what happened in 2010, of course, caste survey was done. However, data was not out. Let me tell you that who opposed recommendation of Mandal Commission. it was BJP, and Communal emerged in opposition to Mandal. And who led it? Advaniji. Who was the manager of that campaign? Was Mr. Modi, one. Second, what you asked the question that what Nityanand Rai has said. And let me tell you, the more important is about the statement of Modi ji. He said that there are only two castes, poor and other castes who are helping poor. There are no other caste. No third line of caste, or there are no other caste except these two only. And of course, RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat has said that the caste census will divide Hindus, and they were so vehemently opposed to it. And let me tell you that the Modi government has been pressurized. The way that Rahul ji was insulted on the floor of the parliament, and yet he said that you insult me as much as possible, but you will see that the caste census is done.
Okay.
And finally, Modi government has yielded.
Okay.
It is
So,
a victory
Krishna
of India
Prasad,
Alliance.
As an
It is a
alliance
victory
partner of the BJP,
leader.
as an alliance partner of the BJP, would you say that this is a government which has, perhaps taken this move, understanding fully well its long-term political implications, the long-term social implications, but you have done it only because you understand that that's a reality of India. Across states, the caste narrative dominates every election.
You see, what is happening is after independence, if you look at major decisions that are being taken by different governments, why important decisions regarding with respect to Jammu and Kashmir, with respect to equality of women, with respect to now what we are talking about the caste census, were not taken by Congress party for 60 years. Nothing was done. And we have seen so many important decisions have been taken in the last 10 years. One after the other, one after the other. And this is watershed movement. What has not been done in the first 60 years are being done now. So we should appreciate. Instead of appreciating, let us not criticize for the sake of criticism. Now, we should all anonymously thank Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji for bringing in this change, and that is the caste census. Now, when you are talking in the Constitution of India, thanks to Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar ji, when we talked about the representative democracy, everybody should have his voice. Everybody's voice should be heard. How did we do it? We did half-heartedly. Now this is the time, with the caste census, we are going to have more meaningful and objective data-driven representation in not only politics, but also in jobs, but also in educational parameters, in all walks of life. We're going to have actual representation. You're all aware that even in SC, ST, and BCs, there are apparently equal, but actually when you go into the depths, there are unequal groups. And those unequal groups are never given representation or opportunity to represent their own communities or groups. Now, this is the only opportunity where everybody in the society, every small section of the society will be given an opportunity to represent itself, its views, its opinions, and also get into the opportunities.
Yes. The fact here is that the immediate impact would be perhaps felt in Bihar. Then there are states going to polls next year where the DMK and other parties will be trying to take credit. But after that, the big battle for Uttar Pradesh, and that's where Virendra Singh ji comes from. Virendra Singh ji, जब यूपीए की सरकार थी, आपकी भी सरकार थी क्योंकि आप सत्ता में थे, उस वक्त कोशिश क्यों नहीं की गई कि कास्ट सेंसस करवाया जाए? मुलायम सिंह यादव का दबदबा था उस सरकार को चलाने में, तो क्यों नहीं किया ये कोशिश की गई कि जो कास्ट सेंसस है वो इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाए?
स्वर्गीय मुलायम सिंह यादव पार्लियामेंट के अंदर इस बात पर आश्चर्य व्यक्त किया कि जब सहमति होने के बावजूद ये कास्ट सेंसस क्यों नहीं हो रहा है। ये पार्लियामेंट में सबूत है। दूसरी बात मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि अपोजिशन के सभी लीडर्स इंक्लूडिंग हमारे राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष श्री अखिलेश यादव जी को मैं बधाई देना चाहता हूं कि जिन्होंने शुरू से अपने मैनिफेस्टो में इस बात को प्रमुखता से रखा कि देश में कास्ट सेंसस होना चाहिए, क्योंकि जातीय जनगणना होने से गरीबों को न्याय मिलेगा। क्योंकि लोहिया जी कहा करते थे कि जिसकी जितनी संख्या भारी उसकी उतनी भागीदारी। इस देश के संसाधन में सभी का हक है, सभी की हिस्सेदारी है। अभी तक न्याय नहीं मिल पाया है उन लोगों को। उस न्याय को दिलाने के लिए पीडीए बनाया गया और हम सब पीडीए के प्लेटफॉर्म्स के जरिए चुन करके सदन में आए हैं और हमारी मांग लगातार रही और उस मांग को समर्थन हमारे अपोजिशन के लीडर श्री राहुल गांधी जी ने भी पुरजोर तरीके से किया और हम सब चूंकि एक साथ गठबंधन में थे और सब ने मिलकर के कास्ट सांसद की बात को आगे बढ़ाया और पार्लियामेंट के अंदर चैलेंज देकर के ये बात रखी गई कि इसी पार्लियामेंट के अंदर हम इसे पास कराएंगे। यदि आप नहीं पास करोगे तो फिर से पार्लियामेंट गठित होगा और उसमें हम लोग पास कराएंगे, लेकिन कास्ट सेंसस हम लोग जो है कि पास करा करके ही रहेंगे। लेकिन इससे भी अलग ये बात, इससे भी गंभीर बात यह है कि इस समय पूरा देश जो है पहलगाम की घटना से जो है दुखित है। वो चाहता है कि देश के प्रधानमंत्री कुछ ठोस कार्रवाई करे, लेकिन हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने चालाकी से मुद्दे को डाइवर्ट करने के लिए कास्ट सेंसस की बात ला करके लोगों का ध्यान भटकाना चाहते हैं। ये बड़ी चालाकी से इन लोगों का जो है मुद्दों को डाइवर्ट करने की कला है और देश उसको देख रहा है। कास्ट सेंसस तो हमारी प्राथमिकता है, लेकिन हमारी प्राथमिकता देश की सुरक्षा भी है। उन लोगों को जिसके निरीह लोगों की जो है जान चली गई और इन लोगों का नारा था कि एक के बदले 10 सर हम में आएंगे। पूरा देश इंतजार कर रहा है कि कब 10 सर जो है कि एक के बदले ले आएंगे। ये लोग कथनी और करनी में इनके बहुत फर्क है। एक शगुफा तो छोड़ दिए हैं कास्ट सेंसस का, लेकिन टाइमलाइन नहीं दिए हैं। लेकिन वो किस तरीका क्या होगा, ये किस तरीके से इसको इंप्लीमेंट करेंगे, कैसे जाति की जनगणना करेंगे, जातियों को किस तरीके से न्याय देंगे, ये जब पार्लियामेंट के अंदर आएगा तो एक एक मुद्दे पर प्रधानमंत्री को जवाब देना होगा और तब जाकर के बात क्लियर होगी कि किस तरीके से इस देश में कास्ट सेंसस होगा और तब जनता को उनकी बातों पर विश्वास होगा। लेकिन क्योंकि जनता ने हमेशा धोखा खाया है, 15 लाख की बात करके लोग आज तक इंतजार कर रहे हैं कि उनके खातों में 15 लाख आ जाए। पर नौजवान बेरोजगारी की बात कि उसकी बेरोजगारी कब खत्म होगी,
particularly
और दुनिया
as
भर
the
के ऐसे
timeline.
मुद्दे हैं जिससे
What
लोगों
next?
को भरोसा नहीं है।
What next becomes very very important. I'm going to ask that question that you have raised. जो आपने सवाल उठाया उसका जवाब मैं भाजपा से पूछूंगी, लेकिन सबसे पहले मैं डीएमके के डॉक्टर वीरा स्वामी के पास जाऊंगी। डॉक्टर वीरा स्वामी, Prime Minister VP Singh, the then Prime Minister in the 1990s, had implemented Mandal Commission recommendations in December 1990, and then the reservation came in of 27% of OBCs in government jobs. What we had seen then was that the BJP shifted its gear from what it was earlier a Brahmin Baniya party to have a number of OBC faces, which included Kalyan Singh, Uma Bharti, both OBC loads. We have seen how the BJP in recent years, particularly under an OBC Prime Minister and Prime Minister Modi, has made that push for OBC representation, be it as Chief Ministers or in the Union Cabinet. Do you think this narrative really holds for you all to constantly say that the BJP is anti-caste?
Greetings to everybody. See, I would like to clarify, when this Mandal Commission was implemented, you know which was the party that went on strike and the number of lives lost at that point in time. And they have consistently been saying that they are against this caste reservation. And you have also mentioned that it was in the parliamentary records. where it was stated that the MOS home has said that caste census will not be taken. And also the Honorable Prime Minister in several speeches has made it very clear that this is something which is not going to be done. And they were saying that it will create communal clashes between the Hindus over here. But in Tamil Nadu, if you see, we have one of the highest reservations in the country, if not the highest, where 69% reservation has been done. If you look at the history of reservation in Tamil Nadu, it was identified by a survey that a certain given community which was only about 3%, representing 3% of the population, was having 97% representation in all educational and employment opportunities. So this is when, as early as 1920s, the reservation policy was brought in by the then Justice government, which was in power at that time, even before the pre-independence India. And the concept of reservation was brought in. And subsequently, consistently we've been asking for a caste-based census to be done, because only then, when you do a caste-based census, you will be able to see the reservation policies, whatever are existing in several states, whether they have reached the given community, and to identify what other communities are left behind, and to be able to give them adequate representation in further policies of this government. So even if you look at historically, like when after the DMK came to power in 2021, we had filed a case in the High Court asking for a 27% reservation for OBCs in medical college exams, and that was approved by the Madras High Court, and that has been implemented now. So if you see the history of the reservation policies, Tamil Nadu has always been, irrespective of whichever party is in power, either the DMK or the ADMK, we have tried to ensure that the adequate representation for all communities of the people are being given. And in fact, there was a decision where 10.5 reservation was to be given within a sub-community for the OBCs. But problem was that it was hastily announced by the previous government, but the central government was the one which came and fought it in the legal battles and said that this cannot be implemented. So to say that the central government has always been in favor of a caste census is something which I think is totally unacceptable. I feel that the government has been pressured. See, if you look at the census which was supposed to be conducted in 2021, which was not done, citing COVID, it could have been done in 23, 24, 25, anytime. But they have surreptitiously pushed it so that the delimitation commission has said that the delimitation process, the exercise, can be done only after 2026 if a census is done. Okay. So if the census is done in 2023 or 24, they will not be able to do the delimitation process till the next census, which probably at the earliest will be in 2031. Okay. So the government is trying to see how they can bring the delimitation process by 2029, when they are going for the parliamentary elections. They are doing this to ensure that the number of seats can be divided, where the northern states will get more number of representation, and the southern states, where they are about around 19% now, will be pushed down to 14% of representation as a whole as members of parliament. Okay. So I feel this government is trying to see how they can get out of this kind of a sticky situation regarding the delimitation process. So they have succumbed to the pressures from all the opposition parties to make it look as if this government is doing something. So we'll have to wait and see. See, just doing a caste census is not going to be the end of problems. Because once you come out with the census, the government has to come out with certain policies, yes, certain reservations based on that study. Whether this government will do that or not.
Yes, that point that has been made, that point that has been made by Dr. Veerasamy, particularly to do with what next, because you have not given a timeline here, Sujit Kumar. We do not know when this process will begin. We do not know what is the end date, and also what next, because after that, will there be a pan-India reservation limit of 50%? Will you be pushing for that kind of amendment also in the constitution? How will you be going about it? And you know, a lot of charge coming in from the DMK and the Samajwadi Party and the Congress. Please respond, and then I bring in Udit Raj.
I'll respond to all of them. Dr. Kalanidhi, my dear friend, you know, when he spoke of the southern states being disadvantaged, let me remind him that the Honorable HM has time and again said that none of the southern states will be disadvantaged, and their seats will not be reduced proportionately. So please, Dr. Kalanidhi, you are such a learned person, you are erudite. Please, you know, do not mislead us. And I'll go back to Virendra Singh. You know, Virendra Singh ji, you know, you said that the government is trying to divert attention from the Pahalgam issue and has brought this at this juncture to divert the attention of the nation. I really feel sorry. Nothing can be farther from the truth. This is the government, this is a party which stands for the policy of nation first. And let me assure you and the entire nation that there will be a befitting reply to Pakistan, which is the real perpetrator of this massacre. Okay, so there's no question of diversion of attention. There's no question of this being linked to the Bihar election. At any point of time, there will be some election somewhere in the country. There are 28 states and many union territories. This is why we have been advocating for one election. When you say that BJP is doing it to benefit itself. So at some point of time, there will be election somewhere, and Bihar election is still 7-8 months ahead of us. So this has nothing to do with Bihar election, nothing to do with diverting of attention. And also, Birendra Singh ji, when you said that there was all-party consensus during the UPA regime, what stopped Samajwadi Party from pulling out of the government? It was an important ally in that coalition, in the UPA 1 and UPA 2. What stopped you? If you felt that caste census was not being done by Congress or by the ruling coalition, you could have pulled out of that government. Okay, and Udit Raj ji,
let me get a quick response from Virendra Singh ji on that. Why didn't you pull out of the government if you felt that despite an all-party consensus, it was not implemented?
And then he could respond to that. Just give me 30 seconds. I would like to reply to Udit Raj ji. I have great respect for all these panelists. They are all eminent social and political leaders. But Udit Raj ji, RSS has said categorically in September 2024 that it is supporting caste count provided it is not misused for electoral reasons. It is supporting caste count if it is used for socio-economic justice. So please don't tell us that RSS has not supported or is not supporting caste count. Mandal, Jan Sangh was part of the Janata Party government in 1977. It supported Mandal Commission report. In VP Singh's government in 1989, it was BJP, the next avatar of Jan Sangh, was supporting the VP Singh government from outside. It supported the Mandal Commission report to be implemented. So, please don't mislead us by saying that, Mandal Commission was not supported by BJP or that RSS is anti-reservation and anti-caste. In fact, BJP is the party which has always, respected the constitution.
One view is that your government has actually sat on the findings of the 2011 census.
Yeah, he didn't answer that.
Did you actually not reveal the data which was so critical? Of course, that was done because of Lalu Yadav and Mulayam Singh Yadav being part of that government. What about when you came to power in 2014? Could you have revealed the data? Sujit Kumar.
Oh, sorry, is this for me?
Yes, that's for you.
Yeah, see, in 2010, there was a group of ministers that was in favor of the caste census, okay? And we had the decadal census in 2011. So the caste census could have been very much part of the decadal census in 2011, which the then government led by Dr. Singh didn't do, obviously because of political reasons. Obviously, they didn't have the courage, to do this. This government, led by Prime Minister Modi, has the courage to say that caste census will be part of our census whenever it is due. You asked me what next, please wait for the details to come out.
Okay, let's
because
wait
of
for
COVID
the details to come out. In the meanwhile, two direct questions. First to Virendra Singh, why didn't you pull out of UPA, and then Udit Raj? Go ahead, Virendra Singh ji.
Better I should quit it because you just unnecessarily you making me to say.
उदित राज जी 10 सेकंड का दे दीजिए टाइम बस वीरेंद्र सिंह जी आपके
सहयोगी हैं this not fair
वीरेंद्र सिंह जी बोलिए
not fair
वीरेंद्र सिंह जी
it's not fair in fact what happened I couldn't complete in between you
sir I'm coming to you then you'll get all the time
other one and of course others are being given 2 times 3 times
no I'm coming to you sir वीरेंद्र सिंह जी
मैडम इस सरकार के कई मंत्रियों ने समय समय पर इस तरीके से बयान दिया है, चाहे वो सपोर्ट करने वाली पार्टियों के लीडर रहे हो या वरिष्ठ मंत्री रहे हो। कई मंत्री तो ऐसे कहे हैं कि जो कास्ट की बात करेगा उसके पिछवाड़े पर लात पड़ेगा, ये शायद रिकॉर्ड पे है। और जो छोटे-छोटे जो और दलें हैं जो जिसके सपोर्ट से भारतीय जनता पार्टी टिकी हुई है, वो सारे लीडरों ने कास्ट सेंसस को माना है कि नहीं कास्ट सेंसस होना चाहिए। तो क्या मोदी जी से उन लोगों ने कि समर्थन खींच लिया? वो नहीं, वो सर्कमस्टांसेस आने वाले हैं आने टाइम में।
I got
इसी
your point.
तरीके से जब मुलायम सिंह जी हमारे नेता थे और समाजवादी का समर्थन था और उन्होंने सहमति भी बना ली थी कि जो है मनमोहन सिंह से, डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह से बात करके और उस समय के मिनिस्ट्री से बात करके कि कास्ट सेंसस होना चाहिए और उसको लागू किया जाना चाहिए। लेकिन सरकार जो इस तरीके से काम करती है, वो समय बीत गया और उस समय कास्ट सेंसस नहीं हो पाया। लेकिन हमारी पार्टी का ईमानदारी से प्रयास था कि कास्ट सेंसस हो और आज तक हम ईमानदारी से प्रयास करते चले आ रहे हैं। ये हमारे मैनिफेस्टो में है। हमारे लीडर जो श्री अखिलेश यादव है, बड़ी मजबूती के साथ कास्ट सेंसस को प्रमुखता से अपने मैनिफेस्टो में लिया है और हम लोग उसी कास्ट सेंसस को आधार बना करके 2024 का चुनाव जीते हैं और आने वाले दिनों में हम उन सभी जातियों का जिनको अभी तक न्याय नहीं मिल पाया है क्योंकि उनकी गणना नहीं हो पाई है, उसके लिए लड़ाई लड़ते रहेंगे और जब तक गणना नहीं होगी तब तक वास्तविक उनकी भागीदारी इस देश के संसाधन में नहीं हो पाएगा। ये समाजवादी की अपनी सोच है और विचारधारा है, इसलिए हम इस लड़ाई को मजबूती के साथ लड़ेंगे और सदन के अंदर सदन के बाहर प्रधानमंत्री को स्पष्ट करेंगे कि वो टाइमलाइन दे और ठीक तरीके से वो कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे इसके बारे में स्पष्ट करें देश को।
जी,
ये हम बताना चाहते हैं आपके माध्यम से।
जी,
you was very pertinent question that was about removing the cap of 50% reservation. That is very relevant today in the context when a caste census is going to be conducted. If a cap of 50% is not removed, then what advantages it will have for OBC? One. And let me tell you, nowhere in the constitution there is a cap, but it was the judgment of M.R. Balaji in 1962 that made a cap, and that was also repeated in Indira Sahni's judgment. So what happened in Bihar? Already caste census has been done. In a way, caste census has been done, and the people are trying to confuse that BJP government or Mr. Modi government has done in wake of Bihar election, but it's not like that. बिहार की सरकार ने सेंसस कराया था और वहाँ क्या पटना हाई कोर्ट ने में कोई गए, बीजेपी के सपोर्टर ही थे रोकने के लिए, वहाँ से नहीं रुका, अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में पेंडिंग पड़ा हुआ है। अब वहाँ पर 65-64% रिजर्वेशन कर दिया गया है। अब कास्ट सेंसस का मतलब तो ओबीसी कास्ट सेंसस का मतलब यह है कि उनकी भागीदारी बढ़े। जब 50% ही आरक्षण की सीमा रहेगी तो फिर क्या फ़ायदा होगा? तो मोदी गवर्नमेंट मस्ट आंसर दिस आल्सो, and since yesterday I haven't heard any clarification from the government that what are they going to do about removing the cap of 50%. One, and secondly that why is it so कांग्रेस के सरकार में ही ओबीसी को लाभ मिले। 1992 में 16 दिसंबर 1992 में सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट जब आया कि मंडल कमीशन की सिफारिश से लागू होना चाहिए, तब भी कांग्रेस की सरकार थी। मंडल सेकंड 2006 में जब अर्जुन सिंह जी एचआरडी मिनिस्टर थे, हायर एजुकेशन में ओबीसी को रिजर्वेशन मिला। ये दो मेजर जो अधिकार मिले ओबीसी को कांग्रेस के समय में ही मिले। आज लाखों लोग डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर, टीचर, प्रोफेसर है। 2006 के में जो रिजर्वेशन हायर एजुकेशन में ओबीसी को दिया गया था, उसका भी विरोध बीजेपी ने किया था। यही नहीं, ये तो कास्ट सेंसस के इतने खिलाफ थे कि दुनिया में कोविड पूरे दुनिया में फैला, बट नो कंट्री could postpone census, a population census, except India, and citing the example that there was a epidemics, that because of that it could not be conducted. But the real reason was that if they were postponing, perhaps Modi government was trying to dilute the issue, that once it's diluted, then of course they will conduct the caste census. But when they could see that it is not going to be diluted, Rahul Gandhi ji is there, India Alliance is mounting the pressure of the government on the government. So under the compulsion they have agreed, but modalities are to be still discussed, that what are the information they are going to collect, that it has to be seen that how many COs, OBC COs are in corporate houses, in of course many the investment also, that whether they have investment in industries or startup, etc. All these data should be collected. Then it will be a meaningful caste census. And let me tell you, if all will be given representation in resources of the country, governance of the country, our consumption will increase. Once our consumption will increase, automatically our economy will be large. Why our economy is not getting larger? The reason being, most of the people are having meager income. So meager income people or poor people cannot buy so many products unless until buying capacity or purchasing capacity of the common people or OBC and SC/ST increases, our economy will never touch the developed economy. So that it is in the interest of the country, it is in the interest of the nation that caste census is conducted.
Okay, since you have raised the issue of corporate sector and private sector, is that what is coming next is the big question, Krishna Prasad. As the member of parliament of the TDP, and you come from a state, the chief minister of which, got that famous title of the CEO. Chandrababu Naidu was the first CEO, chief minister of India. The big challenge would be that how do you get corporate sector, the private sector on board for the reservation cap, that they have the right kind of caste representation. And that's where the issue of merit also comes in.
Aram, in the last few minutes, it's very unfortunate that entire discussion was taken to politics. Caste census is not only about politics. Let us please kindly understand this. Caste census is all about giving opportunities to those small groups of people who were brushed under the carpet and no opportunity was given to them, and bigger fish was taking away all the benefits. So now it is not only about politics, it is also about economic empowerment. And when it comes to economic empowerment comes in the democracy, the largest democracy in the world as India. It comes from entrepreneurship and ability and opportunity to take the benefit of various schemes, like taking loans. It could be under Vishwakarma, it could be Swanidhi, it could be bank loans. Different opportunities are there, but they are not able to take because they have been pushed down. Now, with the caste census, all the small groups will now surface out, they will be empowered. Now, when it comes to Andhra Pradesh, with our able leader, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, who has recently started a program called P4. Under P4, what he said is public, people, private partnership. So typically what we talk about is public-private partnership. So he added another P, that is the people. That is, people should also participate in this partnership, P4, wherein 10% of the top of the society, top 10% of the society should do the hand-holding of the bottom 20% of the society and bring them up above the poverty line. So this is the thought process. And in this, the top 10% is where the industry or the corporate is going to participate. So not only CSR, more than CSR, there is a bigger role for the corporate. There is a bigger role for what he calls as the people who can take the role of doing bigger participation in the overall development of the society. That is They will come and adopt certain families in the villages and do the hand holding and take them up. So now this is the approach. Even now, what our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is saying through this caste census, it is not simple politics, but overall development. It is towards development. It is economic empowerment of all the people in the country. Everybody should be given an opportunity.
You know,
That is the thing.
but the fact is, sir, that caste is a major socio-political fault line of India, and that influences, voter choices. It influences mobilization, and it also influences alliances. That's the fact of caste
Exactly.
in India.
While we are talking about that, why are we not talking about what is in surprise for women in the caste census? If we want to talk about politics, what is that we are going to see in the delimitation? How many seats are going to increase and where? And how many seats are going to those unrepresented sections of the society? So even in politics, there is a kind of a bite, there is a cake, there is a piece of bread for everybody.
Okay.
So that is what is important.
Okay, that's a point well taken, Dr. Kalanidhi, that if there is a caste census, then we'll know about data about all the other blocks as well. And that should be a welcomed move. Why has this been linked to delimitation the way you are seeing it?
No. See, I made it as very clear that there was two different issues. One is the caste census, and the other one is the delimitation. Because when you're talking about the caste census, when you're talking about the census, forget about the caste census. Are they going to do it before 2026?
That is the different thing, don't you think?
The Delimitation Commission has made it very clear that only after 2026, whichever census is taken, based on that, the delimitation process should be started. And I am accusing the union government, the present BJP union government, that they have delayed this census process so that it will be done in 2027 to face the criteria set by the Delimitation Commission of 2002. So that is a different issue. But when you're talking about the caste census, we all welcome that. In fact, we have been demanding for this because even if the state does survey, that is not legally accepted even in the courts. So it will be struck down by the courts when some decisions are taken based on state-conducted surveys. So the union government doing a caste census becomes very imperative for any kind of policy decisions on reservation or trying to give them some kind of an upliftment policy. So if you're looking at poverty, like Mr. Kennedy was saying, if you're looking at poverty, you can see that in UP, the poverty is about 20%. In Bihar and Chhattisgarh, the poverty is about 25%. In Gujarat, the so-called Gujarat model of the Honorable Prime Minister, poverty is in the range of about 10%. Why is it that certain section of society is being marginalized, whether it is being done intentionally or not? It is left to anybody's conjecture. And if 10% of the people are left behind where they are below the poverty line, we have to identify who those people are and try to see how we can give them policies. Because if you look at the South states, Mr. Teneti also will agree that most of the South states have a poverty ranging between 0.5 to 2%, not more than that. Whereas in the so-called most developed state of Gujarat, where the GDP is almost similar to that of Tamil Nadu, you will find that the poverty rates are alarming. Why is it so? So has anybody addressed these things? Why did the Prime Minister, who was the Chief Minister for such a long time over there, was unable to do that? And why is it that under his Prime Ministership, his state has such huge poverty and nothing is being done? So we have our own assumptions that this is being systematically done to a certain sections of the community where they are kept poor. So we have to identify who these people are and try to bring in more reservations or hand-holding. And answering your question about private sector, how they can be encouraged to take in certain reserved communities for employment, I would say you provide them with education. You give them a right to education where we have a policy. You say that these communities which have been neglected, they should be ensured that they are given adequate education and they are trained adequately so that they will be able to find a job. It is not that if you get a reservation policy like how they tried in Haryana, it is going to become a disaster. So you try to educate the people and make them employable so that they will get employment, and you bring opportunities, employment opportunities, which the government has failed.
Okay.
Unless you have employment opportunities, why will you get a job?
Okay, I have just 30 seconds both to Dr. Udit Raj and Krishna Prasad. Krishna Prasad, 30 seconds to you first and then Dr. Udit Raj.
I fully agree with him when he said that, we should look at the below the poverty line. And this is all about When you do the caste census, we know which are the groups which are below the poverty line, and therefore, what is the strategy? The strategy of the central government and the strategy of the each state government. You will have to identify them. It is a time to identify. And once you identify, then what is your economic empowerment strategy? Please come out with that. You have an opportunity now. Please do it.
Okay, economic empowerment opportunities is before us. That is the big challenge. And perhaps that is what can ensure a society which we are aiming for, social justice here. Dr. Udit Raj, quickly, 30 seconds, and then the last word will go to Sujit Kumar. Please go ahead.
See, people may see in the contest of who's a gainer, who's a loser, whose politics, who's going to be benefited politically or not going to be benefited. Above all, I see it that it is going to be good for the country. Every section will get opportunity to get representation in mainstream, in governance. That is more important, and definitely will improve or increase the buying power of backward people when they will be assimilated, included in resources and governance of the country, and resultantly it will increase our GDP, our economy will be larger. That is what is going to happen if it is really done in sincere and honest manner. Yes. Not that there is something inside and something outside. Okay. I would urge Modi government that Modi government is honest, conducting the survey, and
Sujit
timeline is also declared.
Sujit Kumar, quickly.
Well, see, the only objective for the government to collect caste data is to ensure that every section of the society have their due rights. You know, BJP is the party which had brought in 10% EWS reservation for the economically weaker section. You know, even for the poor amongst the unreserved category. So, you know, we did it without causing any social upheaval. So for us, caste census has nothing to do with politics, and everything to do with socio-economic justice, everything to do with living to the vision of Dr. Ambedkar, and Dr. and Gandhiji. For both of them actually advocated social justice, and BJP is the party which is doing it without any electoral expectation whatsoever.
Yes, so we certainly hope that affirmative action programs are likely to be impacted by this, but the entire exercise should be conducted in a transparent manner, and that will define how India moves ahead. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of The Big Fight. Krishna Prasad Trinity, Sujit Kumar, Virendra Singh, Dr. Kalanidhi, and Dr. Udit Raj. On that note, we are slipping into a short break. Coming up would be Union Minister Ramdas Athawale.
तू ही तो है जिसकी सच्चाई वाली क्लैरिटी की वजह से मैं आज यहाँ हूँ।
गोल्ड प्लस सिल्वॉक्सी मिरर्स, ऐसी क्लैरिटी कि आपको सिर्फ सच नजर आए, चाहे कितने भी साल बीत जाएं।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics.
Welcome back. You're watching The Big Fight, and joining me now is Union Minister Ramdas Athawale. अठावले जी, NDTV पे आपका स्वागत है। सवाल ये है कि कांग्रेस कह रही है कि ये कास्ट सेंसस का फैसला आपने इसलिए क्योंकि आप पर दबाव था, उनका दबाव था। राहुल गांधी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा पर थे, वो बार-बार इसका इशू बना रहे थे, क्योंकि भाजपा के नेता हमेशा रिलीजन की बात करते रहे हैं, जात की बात नहीं करते हैं।
हाँ, मुझे लगता है कि राहुल गांधी जी के बयान में बिल्कुल तथ्य नहीं है, ये निरर्थक उनका बयान है, क्योंकि ये जो मांग राहुल गांधी कर रहे थे, बात ठीक है, लेकिन सरकार ने निर्णय लिया ये राहुल गांधी जो मांग कर इसलिए नहीं किया है। तो बहुत सारे लोग अनेक सालों से मांग कर रहे थे, और मैंने बहुत बार लोकसभा में, राज्यसभा में भूमिका रखी थी कि खाली ओबीसी का सेंसस होना चाहिए, इसी तरह की मांग होती रही थी। लेकिन मैंने मांग किया था कि भाई सभी जाति का जो सेंसस होने की आवश्यकता है। अगर सभी जाति का सेंसस होता है तो हर जाति का परसेंटेज कितना ये मालूम हो जाएगा, हर जाति के लोगों को कितनी नौकरियां मिल गई ये मालूम हो जाएगा, उसके साथ साथ उनका क्या डेवलपमेंट हुआ इसकी जानकारी मिलेगी, और सरकार को जाति के लिए और भी क्या करना चाहिए इसका डाटा सरकार के सामने आएगा। इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी सरकार का निर्णय बहुत बड़ा रिवोल्यूशनरी है, क्रांतिकारक निर्णय है, और पूरे देश को बहुत ही बड़ा राहत देने वाला ही निर्णय है, और देश के विकास को गति देने वाला निर्णय है। तो राहुल गांधी जी मांग कर रहे थे, इसलिए बिल्कुल निर्णय नहीं हुआ है। राहुल गांधी जी को हमारा सवाल है कि तुम्हारी सरकार थी तब कि क्यों ने आपने निर्णय लिया था। बहुत बार हमने मांग किया था लोकसभा में, तब भी आपने मतलब इसके बारे में निर्णय नहीं लिया था। तो राहुल गांधी ने यात्रा निकाली और वहाँ उन्होंने मांग किया, वो तो खाली ओबीसी की मांग कर रहे थे। लेकिन नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार ने सभी जाति का सर्वे करने का, सेंसस करने का निर्णय लिया है। इसलिए राहुल गांधी जी जो बयान दे रहे थे झूठा बयान है, और माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी का मैं स्वागत करता हूं, उन्होंने बहुत बड़ा निर्णय लिया है।
लेकिन रामदास जी, ऑपोजिशन का तो ये मुद्दा रहा है। ऑपोजिशन की अगर बात करें तो बिहार में जब कांग्रेस आरजेडी की सरकार थी, ऑफ कोर्स नीतीश कुमार चेहरा थे, उस वक्त कास्ट सर्वे हुआ। कर्नाटका तेलंगाना में भी कास्ट सर्वे हुआ है।
नहीं, मुझे लगता है कि करके दिखाया वैसा सेंसस करने का अधिकार राज्यों को होता नहीं है, लेकिन राज्य ने भी, कुछ राज्यों ने भी ऐसा निर्णय लिया था, और नीतीश कुमार सरकार ने भी मतलब अपने राज्य का सर्वे करने का निर्णय लिया था। कर्नाटक सरकार ने, जहाँ कांग्रेस सरकार, उन्होंने भी लिया था, बात सही है, लेकिन उन्होंने लिया इसीलिए निर्णय नहीं लिया है। बहुत सालों से सभी लोगों की मांग भी होती रही थी, और नरेंद्र मोदी जी के एजेंडे में मतलब सभी लोगों का, सबका साथ सबका विकास का उनका एजेंडा था, एजेंडा है, और सबका विकास करने के लिए मतलब उन्होंने ये निर्णय ले लिया है। इसीलिए मतलब जो विपोजिशन अखिलेश यादव जी हो या मतलब बाकी का खरगे साहब हो, राहुल गांधी जी हो, या और भी मतलब कोई जो नेता है, तो ऐसे नेता तो बोलते रहेंगे, लेकिन उन्होंने बोला इसलिए निर्णय नहीं लिया है। सरकार को निर्णय लेना ही था, और सब देश के तमाम लोगों को, 140 करोड़ लोगों को न्याय देना था, इसलिए निर्णय मोदी सरकार ने लिया है।
एक आखिरी सवाल आपसे ये होगा कि अगर आप लोग इतना सिंसियर थे, यही ऑपोजिशन कह रही है, तो उसका जवाब आप दे दीजिए। तो 11 साल से तो आपकी सरकार थी, केंद्र में आप मंत्री रहे हैं, तो आप लोगों ने ये फैसला पहले क्यों नहीं लिया?
तो पहले तो एक साथ सभी निर्णय होते नहीं है। जिस तरह महिलाओं के आरक्षण का बिल कई सालों से अपने संसद में पेंडिंग था, और हर बार मतलब अनेक लोगों ने विरोध भी किया था, लेकिन नरेंद्र मोदी जी सरकार ने मतलब महिलाओं को आरक्षण देने का भी निर्णय लिया, 370 आर्टिकल हटाने का भी निर्णय लिया। तो एक साथ सभी निर्णय होते नहीं है। 11 सालों में तो निर्णय मतलब टप्पे टप्पे से निर्णय होते हैं, और इसीलिए मतलब उन्होंने बोला इसीलिए बिल्कुल निर्णय नहीं हुआ है। सरकार चाहती थी कि भाई ऐसा सेंसस हो, और मैंने पार्लियामेंट में बहुत बार मांग किया था कि खाली ओबीसी का सेंसस नहीं होना चाहिए, हर जाति का सेंसस होना चाहिए, तो ही हर जाति का कितना परसेंटेज वो मालूम हो जाएगा। तो इसीलिए मुझे लगता है कि ये कोई अपोजिशन ने मांग किया इसलिए निर्णय नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन जो भी है निर्णय हो चुका है। सरकार का सभी अपोजिशन ने अभिनंदन भी किया है, बहुत अच्छी बात है, और इस सेंसस से पूरे देश का फायदा होगा।
चलिए, Ramdas Thawale, Union Minister, appreciate your time here on this edition of The Big Fight. That's all from me. Thanks for watching.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it
Hello everyone and welcome to this special conversation. The Union Cabinet yesterday made the big announcement of the caste census. The first big implication of that will be felt on battleground Bihar. And we have Union Minister and LJP Chief Chirag Paswan with us. Chirag Paswan, thank you for speaking to NDTV. What do you think will be the impact of this decision which has been taken by the government, your government, on Bihar?
Well, why to talk only about Bihar? I don't understand, because the opposition is trying to create this narrative that this decision has been taken just for the elections happening in Bihar. I mean, a national level census just for Bihar. If we were to do this, we would have done it before Lok Sabha elections. But then this was the need of the hour. It was much needed. And Bharatiya Janata Party and all the ally partners together in collaboration, we were working on it for the longest time. You know that I have been very vocal about this. I have said this repeatedly on n number of platforms that it is needed. A caste-based census is needed. And we need to have those data with the government, you know, when you formulate policies concerning the weaker section of the society, you need to have those numbers with you in hand. But we never had that. The last time we had the census was almost 100 years back. In 1931 we had this, and since then we don't have any data. So it was needed. It was the need of the hour, and this decision was taken only and only on the basis of keeping the emotions of the majority of the people who wanted this to happen, just on that basis.
Caste is a reality of India. You know, we come from a
sad
state.
reality.
Yes. But the Congress says, and the entire India bloc is saying, be it Akhilesh Yadav or Tejasvi or other parties, that they have forced the hands of the BJP and the government, because
right.
BJP invariably has been non-committal on the issue of caste census.
Right. And when they had this opportunity, why didn't they do it then? I mean, I am surprised at how everybody is running to take this credit, including Rahul Gandhi ji, Lalu ji, Akhilesh ji, all these opposition parties, they are running to take this credit. What for? You also had an opportunity. You could have done it when you were there in power. I mean, of all, Rahul Gandhi ji will take this credit. For the longest time after independence, it was your party which was in power, and forget about Prime Minister coming from your party. You have Prime Minister, three Prime Minister coming from your family. You could have done it then. Why didn't you do it then? During Manmohan Singh ji's time in 2010, a GOM was formed to take a decision on this. Why didn't you do it then? Lalu ji is talking about it. You yourself, Prabhu, you were the chief minister of my state. Why didn't you do it then? Akhilesh ji was chief minister. His father was there. His party was there in power. Why didn't you do this survey that time? And a census at the central level, why didn't Congress do it? Now they are running to take this credit. They know that they have always used it as a political weapon, and now that weapon's gone.
In 2021, in fact, July 20th, 2021, responding to a parliament question, MOS Home Affairs, Nityanand Rai, who also comes from Bihar, had said that the government of India decided it as a matter of policy not to enumerate caste-wise population other than SCs and STs in census. So this has been invariably the stand of your government.
Not invariably the stand, but definitely maybe one of the thought processes. But then you grow and you mature, and you really have to respect the emotions of the people, you know, and gradually, and is the reason why Bharatiya Janata Party and each member of Bharatiya Janata Party, each MLA, they supported it when this survey was done in Bihar under the leadership of current Chief Minister Nitish Kumar ji. They all supported it there. And then, yes, on regular intervals, my Prime Minister do take these opinions, take these suggestions, you know, that is it really needed and what are the reasons why we should do this. And I think this was going on for the longest time, and this decision has been taken just to support the concept of inclusive politics. You know, when we talk about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, we talk about Sabka Vishwas also. And this generates that Vishwas that every section of the society is included when it comes to the development of the country.
Last question to you. Your father was a strong votary of social justice and equality. And he had also spoken about need for reservation in private sector. Many are saying that this is perhaps beginning of that debate, good or bad.
Of course, and I think in due course of time, as time comes, as I said, taking right decision at the right time is how my Prime Minister works, and this is one of those examples. And I think in due course, this is just the beginning of that. And in due course, my party strongly advocates for this, that we need to have reservation in the private sector as well. But then, yes, right now, priority is this, to get this executed and implemented well in time.
All right, Chirag Paswan, really appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to NDTV.
Caste enumeration should be included in the forthcoming census.
पहली बार देश में आजादी के बाद ये फैसला किया गया है.
For this decision we were waiting since long.
This has been only possible with our Prime Minister's decision.
राहुल जी जो सोचदार है, मोदी जी ने अडॉप्ट कर लिया, अच्छा है.
राहुल गांधी के सर्टिफिकेट के लिए राहुल गांधी को क्रेडिट देने के लिए कोई निर्णय नहीं किया.
They have always used it as a political weapon, and now that weapon's gone.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
The last 1 month, if you see, the share prices of Genzol Engineering has fallen more than 58%.
Why are the rating firms calling the debt payments as default?
We have two credible credit rating agencies on March 4th coming and downgrading the stock to D.
Statements are consistently being proven wrong, and transactions are being taken place which are different from what they were originally pictured to be.
The company claimed it would roll out 6,400 electric vehicles. But what it has rolled out is a shocking scam. Funds meant for the project were funneled allegedly back to the promoters, the Jaggi brothers. What did the money buy? Not EVs, of course, but a lavish flat in Gurgaon's luxurious DLF Carmelias.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India, it matters to India, it matters to India, and it matters to me, and it matters to me.
ನಡೆದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ. ರೌಡಿ ಶೀಟರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾನು ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಅದನ್ನು. ಇನ್ನು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಕೂಡಲೇ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಬೇಕು.
Whatever steps that we need to take to see that people who are behind this, they should be arrested, they should be apprehended, they should face the force of law.
Hindus are not feeling safe in Karnataka under Siddharamaya's tenure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bengaluru is on the edge tonight after you have a shocking and a brazen murder that has been caught in broad daylight. His name was Suhash Shetty. He's a 30-year-old right-wing activist. I want to bring up certain images as we have this conversation and tell you more about what's happened. And if you just look at this particular image right now on your screens, where we've tried to look at different aspects of these attackers, they're already numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4. Agencies tell us that there could be anywhere between 4 to 6 people involved in this attack. Brazen, dastardly, and without the fear of the law. But I want to tell you a little bit more as we stay with these images that you see on your screens. The man called Suhash Shetty was a 30-year-old right-wing activist and the prime accused in another case. Now, that is a 2022 hate crime killing of Mohammad Fazil. And he was brutally hacked to death by a group of men in a bustling area. The time, in fact, of that CCTV footage that just played out was close to about 8:30 p.m., not even very late. So you will see a lot of people around there. And clearly no one wants to come out and help, but that is one part of the story. But the other part of the story is the brazenness, the audacity of these attackers. The horrific attack is captured on camera. And this, as expected, has sent shockwaves throughout the coastal district, in particular, throughout the entire state of Karnataka, reigniting fears of a communal unrest. We've seen a lot of heavy police bandobast throughout the day in particularly those areas, and those are images up on your screens, with Karnataka's top cop also closely monitoring the entire situation. The BJP's leadership has issued some very, very strong condemnations. The VHP has called for a band, and this chilling murder, remember, follows another recent tragedy that we are talking about. I want to tell you more about Ashraf, and those are graphics now that I want to bring up on our screens to tell you more of why this is not an isolated case. Now, right now, you have more details. So why is Bengaluru tense? And if you look at the timeline, May the 1st is when Suhas is murdered. He is murdered, but he's also an accused in another case. And as all this is happening, just few days ago, there was another murder from the state of Karnataka, and that was of Ashraf. And I want to bring out more details also of that man called Ashraf before we open this up and get you the latest as far as the investigation is concerned. In fact, we will play out these graphics in just a moment. And I want to tell you about the lynching of Ashraf, a mentally ill man from Kerala. But like on your screens, you're looking at the entire timeline now of a lot more such incidents that have been captured, and why this is a web of murders that has now shocked the state of Karnataka, and why there are questions of law and order being raised. I want to see if we can put out these graphics that you see right now on your screens on the big wall, and that's going to be Newsnight's Deep Dive. So let's play out what you were just looking at, because it's important you look at the enormity of the entire incident and the timeline. Now, this man, Suhash Shetty, is no more. He's been killed in the Bengaluru attack that happened on Thursday night. That is the first. But let's get you the backstory. Why is this the beginning of a lot more concern? Now, he was a pro-Hindu worker accused in another case of Fazil, who was also murdered. So he was one of the prime accused in that case. Let's quickly move that out to more details that will continue to flash on your screens. He was earlier released on bail in 2024. And this is the checkered past that a lot of people today from the state of Karnataka are talking about. But if you look at this particular image on your screens, a lot of you might recall this. His name was Praveen Netaru. He was a BJP worker. On the 26th of July, 2022, he is murdered. And when this murder takes place, there are again a lot of people that were picked up for questioning. And this man, Mohammad Fazil, was one of them. On the 28th of July, he was killed. And the charge was that this is a revenge killing. But then on 27th of April 2025, A man, in fact, named Ashraf that you see on your screens, he was lynched over some pro-park slogans. So you have seen a series of these incidents that do raise questions of law and order, and that is the reason why when you see all these details coming in together, the BJP says that Siddaramaiah is losing his grip. But what is the truth and what is the investigation leading towards so far? Let's open this up. We've seen a huge BJP versus Congress fight, and I want to introduce first up our guests before we get on our straight questions again on that big story. We'll just take a moment to get them on our screens, and I'll say good evening to Brijesh Kalappa, who's representing the Congress in the panel. Also, Sanjay Sahaji is a former ADGP of Karnataka, and I'm told that he has a very strong opinion on the entire issue. Vijay Prasad is representing the BJP on the show, and Ashutosh Srivastava is an advocate of the Supreme Court. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Let's bring up our straight questions so that our viewers know what exactly our focus is and what we are talking about on the show. The first straight question that's going to be up on your screens, and that reads, was this a targeted killing or this was an isolated case? Again, pending an investigation, we can't say much. Let's bring up our second straight question as we are looking at all developments on the story so far. Can the murder be justified even if he's a known criminal? Because I've heard a lot of people today saying that, listen, he was a rowdy sheeter, he had so many cases. But even then, does a broad daylight murder like this, can that be justified? The third straight question now on your screens, and then we'll play out the entire CCTV footage once more. Is Siddaramaiah losing control? String of such incidents, a lot of other issues that Siddaramaiah is dealing with. Is he now not in charge of what's going on in his own state? What about the BJP? Is the BJP now also exploiting this for their political gains? They sense an opportunity, so let's play politics. We'll ask the BJP that question also in just a moment. This brings us to our final straight question that's on your screens. Are rising communal tensions a growing concern? There should be a concern for everyone. Who's responsible? Who's accountable? We'll begin by taking our first response from Brijesh Kalappa on all those questions, and I want to request our team to put out those CCTV footage right now, which is on the screen. Brijesh, when you look at this, is there no fear of law in Karnataka?
See, I think that's not the right question to ask, because Karnataka is indeed a peaceful state, and the BJP has consistently tried to project as if the state is, completely gone to dogs. This they did during the D.K. Ravi episode. They also did during the Ganapati episode. And this is typical of the BJP because whenever there is a dead body lying somewhere, the BJP only can think of politics. And this has been typical of their political stances in Karnataka from time to time. And we also know that as far as the D.K. Ravi episode, which the CBI came to be involved with Ganapati, which also the CBI came to be involved with, the state government has not been targeted at all. The report has completely, cleared the state government, or rather, even then, the Siddaramaiah was there as chief minister, of any misdoing or wrongdoing. The same thing happened during the Saujanya episode. And again, during Praveen Nettaru's death. Praveen Nettaru, as you know, died during when the BJP was in power. So why do they now say that the Hindus are not safe during Siddaramaiah's time? Why don't they ask themselves the question? Don't they have mirrors in their home to look at their own faces and ask themselves the question, the way if the Hindus were unsafe when Praveen Nettaru's body was found lying? So I think this is a question which the BJP must ask itself.
Okay.
And rather than making, wild allegations, and more importantly, I think the morale of the police ought not to be a casualty in a political war. The Karnataka police has an outstanding reputation, and each and every time the BJP is trying to project the Karnataka police as being, a failed police force. And this happened whether in the case of D.K. Ravi, it happened in the case of Ganapati. It's consistently happening. Okay. And I think the police of Karnataka, which is doing an outstanding job, should not be maligned.
Okay,
Let the
Brijesh,
BJP do its politics,
you've put out a
but
political
not at the
response.
cost of the
Yes.
reputation of the police.
Yes, Brijesh, you've put out a political response. It's only fair I let Vijay come in. But I want to take just 10 seconds of your time, Brijesh, to ask one more important question. Because ever since I've heard the comments that have come in from different leaders, who represent the Congress in the state of Karnataka, a lot of them first tell us, listen, he was a rowdy sheeter. He had so many cases against him. Does that justify this broad daylight hacking of a man, of any man in your state? Does that justify it?
No, I'll straight away tell you, whether he was a rowdy sheeter, whether he was the worst criminal in the world, whether he was even worse than Osama bin Laden, he does not deserve a death like this. Let me be very clear, nobody, other than after following due process, if the court were to give him the death sentence, yes. But nobody has the right to take another's life, and anybody who has taken his life has to pay the price for it.
Okay, you've made the reference of Osama bin Laden. I do not know whether that's again a pointed retort at the BJP or not, but I'll let Vijay take the floor. Vijay, are you plain, simple, plain politics? Because Brijesh says that let the investigation take place and this could happen anywhere. Has this not happened when the BJP was also ruling the state of Karnataka? So are you guilty?
Very good evening, Dipti. Again, one more lip service from Congress and Congress spokesperson. See, tonight we raise a burning question that echoes through the streets of Karnataka and beyond. Are Hindu activists being silenced in a targeted pattern while the state remains a silent spectator? In a democracy that promises freedom of speech and belief, why are those speaking for the majority being hunted? Is this political apathy, selective outrage, or
how do you say that this is about Hindus? I must ask you this because, you know, we are bordering very close to making this just a communal issue now.
No. See, what I'm trying to say here, put forth is here, is this a political apathy, selective outrage, or a dangerous tilt in the state priorities? The nation demands to know, is justice being denied because the victim belongs to a certain ideology? See, tonight, again, we want to confront a chilling truth that Karnataka cannot ignore anymore. See, the targeted killings of Hindu activists, the erosion of public safety, and government that seems to be more interested in optics than justice. In the last 2 years, we have seen activists being murdered, law and order being crumbled, and communal tensions are simmering. Yet the ruling establishment, in this case, the Karnataka Congress government, remain mute, numb, and disturbingly indifferent. I want to ask if Brijesh Kalappa, is this government, is this governance to surrender or surrendering to the chaos or the jihadi element? See, is the government deliberately silent because the victim did not fit their Congress's narrative? And most importantly, Deepthi, is Karnataka on the verge of becoming a state where ideology determines whether or not...
Vijay, I think you must also be very cautious of not making the same mistake that Brijesh, you know, you're alleging Brijesh and his party of doing it. You know, is this really not just about law and order? I know that Brijesh wants to come in. So before I get in both Sanjay Sahai and Ashutosh into this, Brijesh, take another 10 seconds to respond to what you've just heard from the BJP.
No, I'm really appalled. I wish the BJP spokesperson came with a little more preparation. Because he just came, he had prepared some speech.
Vijay, let him complete. Vijay, let him complete. Let him complete, please. Then you can counter him one by one, please.
You see what? See, you try to say...
Vijay, please pull back. Let him complete. Let him complete, Vijay. I'm requesting you.
In the state where you are ruling.
Vijay, not the time to play politics. Not the time to provoke, please. Let's listen into what Brijesh has to say, then you can counter him. Go on, please.
See, I've been on television now, Deepthi, for over 10 years. And this is a humble request to the BJP spokesperson. Please come prepared. Please listen to what the Congress is saying, then respond. Don't come with a prefix speech and then make it straight away. This is not a political rally. This is a television debate. People want to know what your point of view is.
Okay, gentlemen, why are we making this personal? I mean, there are hard questions. These are hard questions, Vijay and Brijesh, that need to be answered. Unless you don't want to answer it, please don't get into these personal tirades. Brijesh. Complete your point.
No, I was only saying that not a single thing he said had any response to what I had said. Not a single thing.